Hi, everybody. Aloha to you. I just am spontaneously sharing a message here. It's been an interesting several months. I've been pretty quiet, actually. I haven't expressed a lot verbally or vocally. I'm very grateful for where I was guided to return to Kauai in December. And we've had a very specific outcome here. Just like every place on the earth, it's very specific of what we're experiencing and what we're going through right now. Personally, I've had something going on with myself where I've had to focus a lot of inner attention and energy to receive some deeper understanding and clarity of something that I'm transforming and purifying, which has been interesting. And it's been perfect alignment with the quarantine because I've had the ability to be still and not travel or go anywhere based on the mandate that I'm actually not technically allowed to leave my island, which has been a very fascinating experience. In the end of March, they started a 14-day mandatory quarantine process, and they're about to lift it in 2 weeks for traveling between the islands, but we're still not actually allowed to leave Hawaii. Otherwise, we'd have to do a 2-week indoor 14-day quarantine period when we return. We don't know yet how long that's going to last. Some are saying it'll last another month. Some are saying it'll last a couple months. But what it's done is it's given those of us that were guided to live here and be here and reside here a very particular experience in that normally our population here is very small in comparison to the visitors that come annually. And so right now our population is just the residents, and on Kauai our population is I believe it's 80,000. So it's under 100,000 for the entire island, which is quite small. And we have had now 2 months of no virus on the island. So vibrationally, it's provided a really fascinating arena to study what it's like when things are flowing in harmony without outside influences, without a lot of outside opinions, outside belief systems, outside stories, and vitality and health. It's like brilliant to me. So my experience and why I am living here and was called to be here is a lot about having this experience right now, where I am understanding vibrationally what it feels like to feel safe, protected, aligned, and be in a community that is loving and supportive of each other. The aloha in Hawaii is very much about community. It's very much about sharing, serving each other, helping. That all has been going on. Yes, we economically are going through the same thing, actually probably more extremely even than more places, because of I think it was about like 40% of our jobs are tourism jobs, and so therefore that means 40% of the population is out of work. But everyone is being taken care of, and that has just been remarkable to see. So in light of what has been occurring the last few weeks on the mainland, I've also been silent around that because I'm more in meditation right now, trying to understand how I can best be in service. And I wanted to share a brief message of something that is, at this point, the only truth and understanding I've been able to learn in my life about the subject matter. So in 2005, 2006, I was living in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I was teaching elementary school to 500 children a week, and I was the art teacher. I was working in what was described at that time as an inner city school. It was all African American students, and it was a poor school. The children didn't have proper food at home. They didn't have good homes in general. I would teach to the children, and I remember the struggle I had internally around how do I actually reach them and affect them as an audience of beings to try to support them. And it was difficult for me to reach them at the time through the medium of art. And I made a personal decision shortly after that to leave education. I had been an environmental and art educator for about 6 years at that point, which was actually very alternative in the year 2000 to become an environmental educator. So that's 20 years ago. It's crazy. But I was struggling myself with that, teaching people about the environment, teaching people about art education. They weren't able to understand what I was talking about because they had too much pain stored inside of them, particularly from their home environment. So my goal was, if I wanted to help save the environment and to help people connect to art and creativity, I would need to help them heal the pain inside their heart. And in doing so, I first started studying yoga, and I became a yoga teacher in 2007, 2008. And then in 2009, I was introduced to the spiritual studying that I've been doing for the last 11 years now. Wow. And then I just went that direction, which was the soul healing and the approach of looking at the heart and the soul of the being and transforming the blockages that way. The reason why I quit teaching and educating in that form with youth at that time was because I knew that there was a better way to influence people and to affect people, and the only way I was going to influence them and affect them is if their heart was open. If somebody is carrying a full storage of pain and suffering, violation, trauma, what, we don't have to go there, but there's like so many levels of pain and suffering that exist right now and always have. If someone's carrying that in their heart is closed and they're not able to hear the message that at the time I was trying to convey about protecting the environment or using art for creativity. If someone has too much pain in their heart is closed, they cannot hear the message because they're not receiving from their heart. They're receiving from their mind. Their mind is telling them a story that they have to be on guard, they have to be in fear, they have to hold a boundary of protection up because they have experienced hurt and harm in the past. And generally, whatever is in front of them is going to potentially hurt and harm them. So they will guard themselves and be on the defense always. That is where we're at right now. People's hearts are closed. They don't know how to have their heart open because they've never been taught what it means to be unconditionally loved and to feel safe. I've gone through my own process. I'm in my 40s. I'm still going through it of how do I feel safe. I just had an experience this week where I got that activated and felt like I let my boundary down, and then I was violated actually, and it created some trauma. We can have those experiences no matter how evolved we are, but I have been taught, thankfully, to immediately go into forgiveness and work on transforming the blockage when it activates and releasing any negativity around it so that I keep my heart open. If I close my heart, then basically I'm going to be in anger and rage and aggression and fear and negativity and violence. If I keep my heart open, my heart is sensitive. My heart is peaceful. It's loving. It's intuitive. It knows what is accurate. It knows what is truth. Generally, there's so much information that's actually not truth right now that everyone's heart's also closing because there's frustration and anger and resentment that there's this misaligned truth that's going on the earth. And we might all want to project that onto leadership, but the leadership is only a reflection of the culture. So we're actually the creators. So we really need to pull our projections off of leaders and put it back on our individual selves and see what is my action and behavior, thought forms, speech, thinking, doing in this moment to either perpetuate light and create more open-heartedness, or am I helping people want to be on the defense and keep their hearts closed and then create more negativity? So we have an experience right now of purification and activation of our cultural society karmas that are transforming and aligning. And what they are doing is they're purifying the density of the negativity that's been stored inside everyone's interior of darkness, anger, resentment, depression, anxiety, worry, grief. All of that information is stored within our organ systems, it's stored within our cells, it's stored within our mind, it's stored within our heart, and it's also stored within our soul. We, however, can use this time, which is very important and very aligned, to have a change and transformation that helps people open their hearts to each other. When we open our hearts to each other, we stop blaming other people or other situations or other outcomes for what we're experiencing, and we come at it from a place of compassion and understanding and wisdom. We also need to stop using our mental body or our mind or our emotional body to make decisions or discernments, because our mind and our emotions are not balanced. And when we use our mind and our emotions to make decisions, we're making wrong decisions, because they're coming from that wounded place of pain that is stored in our nervous system and in our cellular memory. Our heart is our closest place of purity, but generally our hearts are blocked and in pain from past traumas, regardless of how we grew up. Every human really has pain in them. It's just why we're here, because we're here to transform it. So it's not about comparing whether you had a really terrible childhood or not. It's just we've just had difficulty, and we continue to express it onto each other. So if we come at operating from a place of opening our hearts to each other and almost being humble, of recognizing that our ability to see clearly and discern things accurately are biased based on our emotional and mental traumas as well as our physical traumas, we can start to align this misaligned planet. Eventually, yes, it will turn into the environment then being saved and protected. But very clearly, the guidance I received 15 years ago was that we cannot save the earth until people open their hearts to each other, because then they're completely disconnected from the planet. They don't even care. They really absolutely don't care about the planet, and they'll keep perpetuating the harm because they're perpetuating harm within themselves. If they stop perpetuating harm within themselves, then they care about their outer environment. So this is like gold to me right now, because I am a huge proponent of the environment. I love the environment, but it's very evident to me we cannot save the environment until we save humanity. And humanity is very sick right now. I'm like floored how much pain there is. And that is why, how I started this conversation, I am so grateful that I was guided to come back to Kauai and be in this isolated environment so that I could see the difference between what is absolute truth and what is absolute light versus the misaligned truth and the shadow side of what is playing out in other places. So it's not that I'm like sitting over here just like in judgment. I'm sitting over here on an isolated island, meditating and holding my heart as open as possible so that other people can recognize that there is an alternative solution than the one we have created in the past, which up until now means a lot of suffering and chaos. So my message today, my desire, my intention of communicating this is we are absolutely in an aligned place on the earth right now, because we are purifying this deep, 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 deep millions of years wound that is stored inside every one of us, of repression, of anger, of rage, of feeling violated, of feeling taken advantage of, because our human race has not evolved in a very, very long time, like maybe 30, 40,000 years, to be kind, loving souls. So our kindness, our love, our compassion, our understanding, our forgiveness, our appreciation, our gratitude is what we are evolving to in this moment. In order for that to accurately accumulate, we have to dig up to the surface the traumas that have circulated, and then we amend them. So we're in the digging up process right now. We're getting close to the amending process. When we go into the amending process, healing occurs. When healing occurs, we let go of the blocks that we're carrying inside of us of protection, and we open our hearts to each other, and we're more kind and compassionate, loving. When we're more kind, compassionate, loving, we care about our neighbors and our environment. It's a huge chain ripple effect. I absolutely know what it's like to feel physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, spiritual pain. I have been dealing with it since I was like 2, so a lot of time. And I know it's not easy to dive into the deep wounds that our culture and society have accumulated, but we don't have a choice. The only option we have right now is to dig up these wounds and to transform them. We transform them through facing them and through offering love and compassion. I'm going to stop here at this time for this message. I'll continue this dialogue further as we go along. But if anyone wants to reach out to me privately and just have a conversation, I absolutely am available for that. I also offer private sessions if there's any way I can help any individual to transform their own pain and suffering around what's going on or internally. That's not what this message is about, but I am trained professionally to do that if that could be of support at all. I want to end by saying that 1,000% we have the ability to do this. We have the ability to course direct humanity and the earth. We do, however, need to stop focusing on the problems and focus instead on what is the solution. So I encourage everyone to use their creativity that's stored in your interior, in your heart, and whatever solution you can come up with in your community or your environment, just do it. When there's like 8 billion of us doing those solutions, there's no problem anymore. So it is an individual journey right now. It is a collective journey. They go hand in hand. We individually do action. It creates the cause and effect to course direct the collective. Sending love, sending aloha to you from Hawaii, and much peace and absolute truth. Okay, bye.